Hi, welcome to AFTV. I've got Robbie with me. We've just beaten Dinamo Zagreb 3-0. We're not through yet. We've got one more game to play next week. But, I mean, with Girona next week, I think it's quite, favourable for Arsenal. But for today's performance...
I think we're more or less through already, isn't it?
It's qualified as Liverpool and Barcelona, but realistically...
Yeah, if you go for the goal difference and what would have to sort of go against us and that, I think we're literally there.
Yeah.
We're literally there. It's a very important win tonight.
Well, let's talk about it, because on the watch along there was debate about the performance where people listen. Was it just a win? You get the win over the line with the circumstances at the moment around Arsenal, or are you looking at the performance? Because further down the line, you look at it and think it's still not scintillating.
Damn, not miserable, isn't it? You win 3-0, the performance ain't right. We win.
That's your brother, by the way, Laurie.
Yeah, well, I should have known. You know what I mean? Miserable, man. Listen, it's a 3-0 win. It weren't the greatest performance. It weren't the greatest game. It's not always the greatest game when you've got a team that's basically showing no ambition. You know, when they've got the low block on and then they win the ball, they try and go long to catch you out, which Gabriel just gobbled that all up. There was one time when Kivior made a little error. That's all they had to offer. Yeah. They basically just defended. It's very difficult sometimes to have a exciting end-to-end game when a team's playing like that.
Can it catch up with you, though? A performance like that, do you look at it and think, listen, we've got Man City in a couple of weeks.
They won 3-0. They won 3-0, man. To me, and it looked to me, watching Arsenal today, that they were just playing in second gear. And if they needed to step it up, they would have stepped it up and they would have won by more. I would have liked to have seen a more dynamic, exciting performance. But it's very difficult when you're playing against teams like them, teams like when Ipswich came here the other day, when Everton came here, when those teams are when you've got literally all the ball and you're in front of them, it's really difficult. But we broke them down and we got the goals. And I thought 3-0, we deserve to win 3-0. And, players that have been getting a bit of stick played well tonight. I thought Martinelli had a very, very good game. He was cooking their wingers. They doubled up on him. He was still getting joy.
What do you think that's down to? Because it seems like he was a bit more freer today.
Yeah, probably the opposition's not as good. You've got to take that into account. But also, I think over the last couple of games, we've got to give players like him and Havertz credit. They've been getting absolutely destroyed. I remember I famously gave Havertz a 0 out of 10 in the player ratings. That's how bad he was. But in the last two games, he scored. Martinelli scored in the last two games. Martinelli's assisted. Trossard scored. All of those three across the front line that we've been having a pop at have scored. But not many people have come on here and given them the credit afterwards, right? But I am. I'm going to give them the credit. I like to see when people, you've got a bit of adversity on you, how are you going to react? Those three have reacted very well to it. So
online people would say you're flip-flopping, Robbie, by giving...
I don't care about online man-bat flip-flop and that. I see what's in front of me. If somebody's played bad, I'll say he played bad. If someone's playing good, he's playing brilliant, I'll say he's playing brilliant. You want to call me a flip-flop for that? Call me a flip-flop, right? If I see something, if someone's doing something bad or performing badly, I ain't going to come on there and lie just because I said he played well last week, so I'm trying to save my face. I don't operate like that. If you played good, you're getting bigged up by me. If you had a shocker, right, I'll say you had a shocker. Simple as that. Now, I don't care about no flip-flop. This thing about flip-flop, these people coming on, not wanting to shift off of their position because last week they said something else. You said what you said last week because that was what was in front of you. This week, the last two games, those guys have stepped up to the plate. And that's what we want to see, innit? I want to see Sterling now step up to the plate. Because the last couple of games he's had have been poor.
Yeah.
Again tonight, he was poor. Right? So I want to see him step up to the plate. Look at the example of those guys, right? I don't like this thing where it's just like, oh yeah, he played well, but the team was crap. That's the only reason. You know what I mean?
That's what people. That's what you see that online a lot as well.
Sometimes you've got to give credit where credit's due. It's the Champions League, man. It's Champions League's not easy, even with teams like this. You know what I mean? Like if it was that easy, City wouldn't be struggling now.
Yeah.
City are struggling. Bayern Munich lost tonight. You know what I mean? Lots of teams struggling in this thing.
You're right. Let's talk about Odegaard then, because he's a man that scored tonight as well.
Yeah, Odegaard.
Do you feel like it's a platform for him to then kick on from? Because he's been come under a lot of criticism. recently.
Yeah, he has, and that's just because he's such a good player, and he's over the past few games, he hasn't been that great. But again, kept going tonight, kept working hard, and he got his goal. And that's good to see, and that bodes well for us because, a Martin Odegaard that's playing good is good for Arsenal because, you know, he's the guy who's on the ball the most. He's the guy who can make things happen. And we need a confident Martin Odegaard. Players can have dips in a season. Players can have the dips. And listen, in no way am I saying that we still don't need to go and get a striker or something like that.
Get onto that.
Because we do. But let's big up the guys that are in front of us. They've all stepped up in the last few games. All of them that we were having a go at. Everyone's forgot to come and say credit to that man or credit to that man, right?
Is that because maybe the performance, again, some people, I'm going to what people might see as the performance wasn't glowing, and does it build your confidence for Wolves on the weekend? Do you still feel like...
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's 3-0. It's a clean sheet, it's 3-0, Arsenal third in the Champions League grouping, about 30, how many teams?
36.
36 teams. The terrible Arsenal, with the terrible manager, with the terrible players.
And terrible owners as well.
And terrible everything,
yeah.
right? Are third out of 36 teams in the group. So it can't be that bad, can it? Right? But to win it is a different matter.
Big time.
Need reinforcements. But so far, so good. We've only lost one game in this, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was the game against Inter. We were there. We shouldn't really have lost that game.
Let's talk about the window, because they were talking about flip-flop. Let's talk about you giving 7 at the window on some of you. Revised that recently.
Is that Turkish? How about Turkish? How about Turkish though? We could also come on, because listen, at the time I gave it a 6 out of 10, right? Sorry, a 7 out of 10, right? And I said at the time 7 out of 10, but we should have got a striker.
Made sense.
Is what I said. Probably if I was to look at it now, I'd probably revise that to a 6. A couple of the players that have come in haven't really hit, you know, Sterling hasn't delivered, and then the other 2 players have been literally injured the whole time they were here. So, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But then also, Turkish come on here and tell us about some of the players that he's wanted to sign. Like Patson Daka at Leicester, who he was telling me, that's the guy we need to sign. That's the guy that can take us to the next level. I don't hear him say that, I mean, I don't hear those things, right? So as I said, everybody, you can have and listen, there's nothing wrong with him having that opinion, and it's gone wrong.
There's nothing wrong to change it as well, yeah.
That's how it goes. But the one thing I am in agreement with him on is that we need to spend in this January transfer window. We can't win this tournament with the current team. We can't win the league with the current team. It needs reinforcements.
Does it feel like there is going to be reinforcement? Because I saw you with David Ornstein on Sky, and if I'm honest, he said things that we break it all down, didn't say much. I mean, we knew all those things. So,
I told you. I mean.
So do you feel like Arsenal? I mean, it feels like it'll be glaringly obvious that they have to make improvements to this side. They have to do that. But I've been in January windows following Arsenal and seen that, and they haven't done it in the January window.
I mean, to be fair to David Ornstein, what he was saying there, he's talking the truth. It is very difficult to get players over the line in January. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want a Sesko, but suppose Leipzig don't want to sell. They might be like, yo, bro, we've still got out. Yeah, you got Champions League to go for league. What about us? We're going for the, we want to finish in the Champions League places in the Bundesliga, and we see him as an important player, and we see no sense in selling him now, because you know what? We could sell him to you now, but we can also sell him to you in the summer, so we'll wait. And if you don't buy him, there's about 5-6 other clubs who want him as well. Right? Same with Cunha, same with a lot of players. It's hard. It's difficult to get these players over the line in January. But I think Arsenal, they have to try and get at least one over the line this January, because we're in a bad situation. Jesus is gone for the season. So, we don't know if Saka will even be back this season. Have to bring someone in.
Yeah.
Talking about like 2 key players there. You know what I mean? I feel that we're going to have to break the bank. It's not your normal January where you're sensible and you think to yourself, oh, well, let's wait. And that I get that in a normal January. This ain't a normal January. It's a bit of a crisis when it comes to upfront players. If your ambition is to win something, you have to make something happen this January transfer window. Let me go. And I personally think they will buy someone.
Yeah,
I just don't know who.
Let me go 2 more questions to end quickly. What are your hopes of this competition? Because I feel like every fan, when we say Champions League, forget about it. That's what they all say, because they think it's impossible. But
I don't think it's impossible. You've got to be in it to win it. And as we've seen so far this season, there's no, apart from Liverpool, there's no standout team so far in as I said, Bayern Munich lost tonight. City lost tonight.
Barcelona do look
You know what I
good,
mean?
but-
PSG have been struggling. Barcelona last night, that was right. They won that
I know, I
game.
watched it, yeah,
But
it's
that
mad.
game was.
open as well.
If Ty was ever a Benfica fan, he'd have probably had a heart attack because that was the biggest rip-off I've ever seen in a game where it had a nailed-on penalty for Benfica. With the referee giving us the softest of penalties
earlier in the
to
game,
Barcelona, then let them go down the other end and score. So even that was hard for Barcelona. So there's no standout team. I'd say probably Liverpool are the standout team because they've been unbeaten. No one else has been absolutely standout. We've been as good as Barcelona in this tournament so far. So, but
That's a big.
I'm not saying currently with what we've got. If it's a two-legged game against Barcelona, they're by far the favourites because we're lacking in firepower.
Fair. And then finally, you like the format yet?
No, I still don't like the format. I've told it. Listen, I'm not even flip-flopping.
Yeah,
on that.
to
me,
I was gonna set
to
that
me,
one up.
I think the format. Now we're going to get into the knockout things, and I think it might improve. But I've been confused by the whole thing all along. I don't think we should be playing games in January, and there's too many games for players. We've seen this month for Arsenal a game every other day, every 3-4 days. That's because you've got 2 Champions League games in. It's too much, but it is what it is. It ain't going to change. The money's rolling in, so it is what it is.